Alright guys, how's it going? My name is Nyxre and welcome to another episode of The Good, The Bad, and the Teemo, where today I'll be covering Jungle Twisted Fate. Here is a quick reference guide for this episode for those of you who may be interested in how I went about testing this build for the purpose of this video. I did choose to go for an on-hit style build rather than an AP build. That's something that I may end up trying in the future, but for the purposes of this video I figured on-hit would be more interesting. An Imgur link to this image can be found down in the description. So, starting off with the good things about playing Twisted Fate in the jungle, he has some of the best ganks available in the game. His ultimate is one of the primary reasons why he is usually placed in the mid lane, because it allows for you to get to either the top or the bottom lane at a moment's notice and put any team fight into your favor. Playing him in the jungle only enhances this effect, because the enemy wouldn't know which lane you'd be preparing a gank for. On top of this, Twisted Fate in general is great for pick compositions. As long as you pull the yellow card, you can almost guarantee a kill if your team manages to find an enemy out of position. It's also easier in general for your team to find players out of position, because your ultimate will reveal all enemies regardless of where they are on the map. This can prove useful when trying to keep the enemy from sneaking a Baron or trying to ambush your team in an unwarded brush. Another good thing about Jungle Twisted Fate is that it becomes almost impossible for the enemies to tower dive any of your lanes. Your ultimate allows you to quickly have a one-person advantage, and your yellow card can stun the enemy within the turret aggro range. While certain super tanks may still be able to dive your team, most champions won't be able to handle the pressure that your crowd control provides. When it actually comes to jungling with Twisted Fate, it's pretty much impossible to run out of mana. Your blue card can freely be used in jungle camps to restore mana, which leaves open the possibility of giving your mid laner a very early blue buff that other junglers can't necessarily match. As a very minor bonus, your yellow card makes it much easier to take control of Scuttle Crab because it takes more damage while CC'd. And finally, another good thing about Jungle Twisted Fate is that his jungle clear becomes very quick after he's gotten 2 items. Keep in mind that I did try this build out with Devourer, and pretty much any jungler which builds Devourer will end up having an insane clear speed. This allows for you to continuously farm while you wait for your ultimate to come off cooldown for additional ganks. Moving on to the bad things about playing Twisted Fate in the jungle, you effectively lose out on an entire ability. As a matter of fact, you won't even level up your Q until the game forces you. Wildcard becomes completely useless when playing Twisted Fate this way, and should only ever be used when trying to poke someone who is outside of your auto attack range. In every other situation, your autos will do much more damage. Twisted Fate also requires his ultimate to gank lanes. It's possible to gank certain lanes with a flash yellow card, but in order for your ganks to prove effective, you'll almost always need your ultimate to be up. While many junglers need their ultimate to gank effectively, it's a slightly worse situation for Twisted Fate, because his ultimate cooldown is fairly long. Another bad thing about Twisted Fate is that drawing the wrong card can sometimes cost yourself a kill, or even get yourself killed in the process. This is a possibility no matter how you play him, but it can become even more prominent when playing him in the jungle, as you likely won't have any item with defensive stats, unlike in the mid lane, where you can build items like Rod of Ages or Abyssal Scepter. This is simply a mechanical issue, and more skilled players are far less likely to have this problem. Moving on to the Teemo, this is a section that covers everything which is terrible about Jungle Twisted Fate, and deals with some of the more fundamental issues of playing him this way. One of the biggest issues with playing Jungle Twisted Fate is his terrible initial clear. You'll need a very strong leash from your bot lane in order to stay healthy enough for any following camps. It also helps if you're able to kite the neutral camps so you can avoid taking as much damage as possible. This is important because if the enemy jungler chooses to take advantage of this, there's almost nothing you can do to stop it. Much like an AD carry, Jungle Twisted Fate becomes a hindrance if he falls behind. While you still have your yellow card to try and create picks, your autos won't be doing much damage if you don't get your items. If the enemy tanks are able to outscale you, you'll likely find it difficult to win any team fights. This also means that someone else on your team will have to build AP, where your team could easily be itemized against. This is already the case to some extent, as the enemy can build Banshee's Veil or Zhonya's to completely avoid your yellow card if needed. And lastly, one of the worst things about Jungle Twisted Fate is how telegraphed his ultimate is. The enemy can visually see exactly where you're going to be if you've used your ultimate, and because of this, you should never try this build when the enemy team has champions like Malphite or Thresh, as they'll easily be able to blow you up as soon as you arrive. Unlike a more traditional mid lane Twisted Fate, you won't have Zhonya's, so ulting into the enemy backline may sometimes mean nothing more than a free kill for their team. And that's all I have for Jungle Twisted Fate. He plays a lot like Kindred, just without the ultimate and with a bit more map-wide pressure. I would actually consider this build to be completely viable, which makes sense as it has been seen in pro play before, with the Unicorns of Love having used it before this. But it's still a very risky pick because if the enemy jungler is very good, they can easily take advantage of your terrible early clears to pick up a few kills. Feel free to leave a like if you did enjoy the video, and subscribe if you're new around here and would like to see more. If you didn't like the video, feel free to leave a dislike. All I ask is that you leave a comment with what you believe I could have done better, so that my future content can continue to improve. But anyways, that's all I have for you guys in this video. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.